very special chapter in the history of Bordeaux wasn't actually written in the vineyards, but rather in the trade offices. While in most wine regions around the world the producers sell their bottles directly to the market, Bordeaux created a unique system that has worked pretty much the same way since the 18th century. First, you have the Château, which is the producer who actually makes the wine. Second, there is the courtier, a special kind of broker or intermediary who checks the quality, connects buyers with sellers and negotiates the prices. And third, you have the Négociant, the merchant who buys the wine, stores it, packages it, historically in barrels, but nowadays in bottles, and distributes it all over the globe. This entire network is called Place de Bordeaux, and it is the exact reason why Bordeaux became an absolute giant. Thanks to this system, a small producer in the Médoc could easily sell their wine not just in Paris, but also to collectors in London and New York. One of the most fascinating moments of this trade is the En Primeur system. In the spring, right after the harvest, the new wines are presented to critics and merchants while they are still aging in the barrels. The wine is incredibly young and often harsh, but it is already tradable. Professionals can buy it en primeur, meaning in advance, theoretically for a much lower price than what it will cost once it is finally bottled. Historically, this was incredibly useful because it gave the chateau immediate cash flow, while offering great profit opportunities for merchants and collectors alike. I am speaking in the past tense here because since around 2017, those futures often cost just as much as they do later on the open market. This shift happened because some of these wines are in such high demand that buying en primeur is now mostly just a way to guarantee you even get your hands on a single case. In fact, some of the most famous wines in the world, like Chateau Lafite or Mouton Rothschild, are never sold directly to merchants, but exclusively through La Place. And if you think this is just an outdated tradition kept alive out of pure stubbornness, think again. Iconic global names like Opus One from California, Almaviva from Chile, and Italian legends like Masseto and Sassicaia have recently been accepted into this exclusive little club. In short, these négociants and courtiers are an essential part of the reason why Bordeaux became the ultimate global synonym for prestige. Bordeaux is a true game of patience. To really appreciate these wines, we need to talk briefly about tannins and aging. Did you know that 95% of the wines in the world are produced to be consumed quickly without any long-term cellaring? This is undoubtedly because today's consumers don't have patience or the ideal wine cellars to wait around. However, Bordeaux wines starting from a price point of, let's say, 20 euros should really be stored for at least 5, often 10, and in the case of top-tier bottles, even 30 or 40 years. Because of this, Bordeaux wines go through a very characteristic aging curve. Say, during the first 3 years, the wine is fruity, charming, and full of lively freshness. But then comes the difficult phase. The vibrant fruit begins to hide and the tannins become incredibly harsh. It honestly feels like kissing a velvet curtain. Many wine professionals call this awkward phase the valley of disappointment. Only after 5, 10 or even 15 years does the wine finally come back into harmony, revealing noble aromas of leather, tobacco and truffles. For true wine lovers, this is the phase. Absolute nirvana. This leads us to an extremely important conclusion. If you buy a high-quality Bordeaux, perhaps even spending a 3-digit sum on it, you will likely end up with a bottle that needs to age for 15 years. And right now, it might actually taste horrible. If you are looking for a bottle for dinner, you are often much better off buying an already matured Bordeaux for half or even a third of the price. It will give you a significantly greater amount of pleasure than the top wine that should wait 10 years. You are sitting at a restaurant, wine list in hand, with the waiter's eyes fixed right on you, waiting for your order. Assuming you are in a good restaurant and not in a tourist trap, you will be able to order a great Bordeaux wine without breaking the bank. True, a wine card with all these names in French can feel more intimidating than a moody waiter in Paris. But just relax. Let's start with the absolute basics. A name like Bordeaux Supérieur sounds incredibly fancy, but it honestly doesn't mean much except that the winemaker followed a few extra minor rules. For me, the real heroes of price to quality ratio are the satellite appellations, or the Côte de Bordeaux. These regions sit right next to the famous giants, meaning they offer plenty of that typical authentic terroir flavor. This is basically the friendly cousin of the expensive Saint-Emilion, producing delicious wines at a very welcoming price. Another one of my absolute favorites, or daily drinking is the Cru Bourgeois. The name dates back to the 15th century when the bourgeois of Bordeaux, the wealthy citizens of the city who didn't hold any noble titles, bought vineyards and started making wines that were just as good as those from aristocratic castles. Today, these vineyards send their bottle samples to an official, completely blind tasting, judged by an independent panel under the strict control of the Alliance des Crus Bourgeois du Médoc. These are structured, elegant Médoc wines that deliver the goods without costing a fortune. This is the ultimate soft spot for hidden treasures between 20 and 40 euros, and that is exactly where the real joy lives. Sure, above that price point you find liquid geniuses, but the pleasure of discovering something truly great and accessible is unbeatable. Next up, let's talk about the correct pronunciation for a major insider tip. Watch out, don't say deuxième vin. The correct term is second vin. These are bottles made with the exact same care, by the exact same team and the exact same Grand Château. The only difference is they often come from younger wines that just need some more time to mature. In certain great years, these second wines reach almost the exact same quality level as the main premier vin, but at half the price, and they are ready to drink much sooner. Also, do not run away from the less hyped off-vintage years. They aren't bad at all. They just indicate that the weather was a bit more challenging that year. But the great producers know exactly how to compensate for that with flawless technique and clever tricks. And to repeat a crucial point, many expensive wines still desperately need to age. If you want to drink it tonight, always choose something ready and round. Just never forget the golden rule of Bordeaux. If you want immediate pleasure, go for a right bank Merlot. If you want pure power and aging potential, go for the left bank Cabernet Sauvignon. Okay, we are ready. So let's go shopping. Imagine you are standing in a wine shop in France facing a massive walls of labels. Take a deep breath and remember, the goal is never to buy the most expensive label, but to find the perfect wine for tonight. Walk up to the counter with total confidence and never forget the golden rule of French politeness. It's crucial to say bonjour the moment you walk into the shop and repeat it right before you speak to the salesperson. Then you deploy the magic phrase. I'm looking for a wine to drink tonight, not to cellar. With this single sentence, the clerk instantly understands that you are smart and they will immediately cut out all the marketing nonsense. Now, back to the restaurants for the final test. Did you say bonjour twice? But now you can safely trust the house selection. They know the local producers and usually stock excellent Bordeaux bottles between 40 and 60 euros. You can say something like, I would love to try a Bordeaux without too many harsh tannins. Or if you want to play the ultimate connoisseur, aka Cachacier follower, ask, do you have any Saint-Emilion open right now? I absolutely love Merlot when it's soft and direct. And here's a final golden tip for dining out. Always ask the restaurant for their wines by the glass. It's education and pure pleasure in a double dose. It is the perfect opportunity to taste completely different styles without spending a fortune, and it ensures that every single dish on your table is beautifully accompanied. To sum it all up, you definitely don't need to be rich to drink well. All it takes is a bit of curiosity, a tiny bit of street smarts, and the courage to ask the right questions.